Chicago, 1893. The city pulsed with life, a chaotic symphony of ambition and dreams. Among the throngs of hopeful souls was Emeline Cigrand, a young woman with fire in her heart and a thirst for something more. She yearned to escape the drudgery of her days, to carve her name in the ever-evolving narrative of the city. Her days were spent in the rhythmic clatter of typewriter keys, a monotonous soundtrack to her aspirations. Emeline longed for a life less ordinary, a life filled with purpose and passion. Each day she walked through the bustling streets, her eyes scanning the help-wanted signs plastered on shop windows. She dreamt of a future where her skills would be her ticket to a brighter tomorrow. Emeline possessed a quiet determination, an unwavering belief that fate had something extraordinary in store for her. Little did she know her destiny was about to intertwine with a man who would forever alter the course of her life. Dr. H.H. Holmes was a man of mystery, a charismatic enigma who navigated the city's social circles with an air of confidence and sophistication. His piercing gaze held a certain magnetism, a captivating intensity that drew people in. He was a skilled conversationalist, weaving tales of his accomplishments and aspirations with an eloquence that left listeners spellbound. Holmes was a master of illusion, a chameleon who could adapt his persona to charm and disarm anyone who crossed his path. He had recently opened a grand hotel, a testament to his ambition and success. The World's Fair Hotel, as it was known, was an architectural marvel, a sprawling edifice that promised luxury and comfort to its guests. Behind its opulent facade, however, lay a sinister secret, a labyrinthine maze of hidden rooms and corridors that whispered tales of unspeakable horrors. Holmes was a predator in disguise, a wolf in sheep's clothing who lured unsuspecting victims into his web of deceit. He saw opportunity in Emeline's ambition, a vulnerability he could exploit for his own twisted desires. Fate, it seemed, had a cruel sense of humor. One fateful afternoon, as Emeline diligently typed away at her desk, her gaze fell upon a peculiar advertisement in the newspaper. The World's Fair Hotel was seeking a skilled typist, offering a generous salary and the promise of advancement. Intrigued, Emeline saw this as the opportunity she had been waiting for. She meticulously crafted a letter of application, her hopes soaring with each carefully chosen word. Little did she know, this simple act would set in motion a chain of events that would lead her down a path of no return. Days turned into an agonizing wait as Emeline anxiously awaited a response. Just when her hopes began to dwindle, a letter arrived bearing the official seal of the World's Fair Hotel. Her heart skipped a beat as she tore open the envelope, her eyes scanning the words that would seal her fate. She had been invited for an interview, a chance to prove her worth and secure a brighter future. Excitement coursed through her veins as she reread the invitation, her mind abuzz with possibilities. She had no way of knowing that she was stepping into the lair of a monster, her innocence about to be shattered by the darkness that lurked within the walls of the World's Fair Hotel. The World's Fair Hotel was a spectacle to behold, a monument to extravagance and grandeur. Its towering facade, adorned with intricate carvings and shimmering glass, seemed to pierce the very sky. As Emeline approached its imposing entrance, a mix of awe and trepidation washed over her. The air buzzed with activity, a constant stream of guests and staff flowing in and out of its gilded doors. She had never seen anything quite like it. It was a world away from the drab monotony of her former life. Taking a deep breath, Emeline steeled her nerves and stepped inside. The hotel's interior was even more breathtaking than its exterior. Crystal chandeliers cast a warm glow on the polished marble floors, reflecting the opulence of the surroundings. Rich tapestries adorned the walls, depicting scenes of far-off lands and exotic creatures. The air was thick with the scent of expensive perfumes and freshly cut flowers. Every detail, from the plush velvet furniture to the gleaming silver tea sets, spoke of luxury and refinement. Emeline felt a surge of excitement, her senses overwhelmed by the sheer extravagance of it all. Could this be her new reality? Could she truly be a part of this world? Only time would tell, as the grand illusion of the World's Fair Hotel enveloped her in its embrace. Dr. Holmes's office was a stark contrast to the grandeur of the hotel's public spaces. Located on a secluded upper floor, it was a dimly lit room, its walls lined with heavy bookshelves and anatomical charts. A single window offered a glimpse of the bustling city below, but the atmosphere within was one of quiet intensity. Emeline sat nervously across from Dr. Holmes, his piercing gaze making her acutely aware of her every move. He had a way of making her feel both insignificant and strangely important at the same time. He spoke in measured tones, his words carefully chosen, his voice a hypnotic blend of charm and authority. He complimented her skills, praising her efficiency and attention to detail. He spoke of his grand vision for the hotel, his plans to make it the envy of the world. He painted a picture of a bright future, a future where Emeline could play a vital role in his success. She listened intently, captivated by his words, her initial apprehension slowly giving way to a cautious sense of hope. Was this the opportunity she had been waiting for? Could Dr. Holmes be her ticket to a better life? As the interview progressed, a nagging sense of unease began to creep into Emeline's mind. There was something about Dr. Holmes's demeanor, a subtle shift in his eyes, a flicker of something cold and calculating beneath his charming facade. His gaze lingered on her for a beat too long, his smile not quite reaching his eyes. He asked probing questions about her personal life, her family, her dreams for the future, questions that seemed to go beyond the scope of a typical job interview. He spoke of the importance of loyalty and discretion, of the need to safeguard the hotel's secrets. His words hung in the air, heavy with unspoken implications. Emeline tried to shake off her unease, attributing it to nerves. After all, this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. She couldn't afford to let her imagination run wild. Still, a seed of doubt had been planted, a tiny voice whispering warnings in the back of her mind. Emeline's first few weeks at the World's Fair Hotel were a blur of activity. The constant stream of guests, the clatter of dishes from the grand dining hall, the hurried footsteps of staff echoing through the corridors. It was a whirlwind of sights and sounds. She quickly adapted to the rhythm of her new life, her fingers dancing across the keys of her typewriter with practiced ease. Dr. Holmes had been true to his word. He entrusted her with important tasks, her responsibilities growing with each passing day. She felt a sense of accomplishment, a newfound confidence in her abilities, yet beneath the surface of her newfound purpose, a subtle disquiet lingered. The World's Fair Hotel, for all its grandeur, held an unsettling air of mystery. The building itself seemed to whisper secrets, its labyrinthine corridors and hidden staircases hinting at a world unseen. Emeline often found herself lost in its depths, her footsteps echoing through deserted hallways, a sense of unease settling upon her like a shroud. She couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched, her every move observed by unseen eyes. The walls have eyes. As the days turned into weeks, Emeline's unease intensified. There were whispers among the staff, hushed conversations that ceased abruptly whenever she drew near. Strange occurrences plagued the hotel. Items disappearing from rooms, lights flickering erratically, disembodied voices echoing through the vents. Whenever Emeline tried to inquire about these events, she was met with evasive answers and nervous glances. It was as if everyone knew something she didn't, a shared secret they were unwilling to reveal. One evening, while working late in the deserted office, Emeline stumbled upon a hidden passage concealed behind a bookcase. Curiosity piqued, she cautiously stepped inside, her heart pounding in her chest. The air grew heavy and stale, the only light emanating from a flickering gas lamp at the end of the narrow passage. As she cautiously made her way towards it, she noticed strange stains on the floor and walls, dark and ominous in the dim light. A shiver ran down her spine as a wave of dizziness washed over her. What was this place? What secrets did it hold? A gnawing uneasiness. Emeline couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. Dr. Holmes, once so charming and attentive, had become distant and withdrawn. His visits to her office became less frequent, his demeanor cold and calculating. When their paths did cross, his gaze lingered on her with an unsettling intensity. a flicker of something predatory in his eyes. She tried to convince herself that she was being paranoid, that her fears were unfounded. But the more she learned about Dr. Holmes, the more her suspicions grew. Rumors swirled about his past, whispers of shady business dealings and mysterious disappearances. She overheard snippets of conversations, fragments of stories that hinted at a darker side to the enigmatic doctor. A chill ran down her spine as she realized the truth. Dr. H.H. Holmes was not who he seemed. He was a master manipulator, a wolf in sheep's clothing, and she had unwittingly walked into his web of deceit. Fear gnawed at the edges of her whole being, casting a long shadow over her once bright dreams. A sinister proposal. The air in Dr. Holmes's office felt heavy, thick with unspoken words and a tension Emeline couldn't quite place. He sat across from her, his usual charm replaced by a disconcerting intensity. The flickering gaslight cast long, dancing shadows on the walls, adding to the unsettling atmosphere. When he finally spoke, his voice was low and smooth, each word carefully measured. He confessed his admiration for her, praising her intelligence and spirit. Emeline's heart pounded in her chest, a mix of confusion and fear constricting her throat. He spoke of a future together, painting a picture of a life far removed from the humdrum of everyday existence. He promised her wealth, security, and a love that would eclipse all others. His words were like honeyed poison, sweet and intoxicating, yet laced with a bitterness she couldn't ignore. Emeline's mind raced, caught between the allure of his promises and the chilling undercurrent of his words. There was a darkness lurking beneath his polished veneer, a darkness that sent shivers down her spine. The doctor's condition, but Dr. Holmes's proposal came with a peculiar condition, a request veiled in concern for her well-being. He spoke of a minor medical procedure, a simple operation that would ensure their happiness. He assured her it was routine, a mere formality. He spoke with an almost paternal authority, his voice laced with feigned concern. He reached out, his hand hovering over hers, a gesture that sent a jolt of fear through her. Emeline's intuition screamed at her to refuse, to run from the room and never look back. But, like a bird hypnotized by a serpent, she found herself unable to move, trapped in the web of his words. He spoke of trust and devotion, his gaze unwavering, a chilling glint in his eyes. He explained that the procedure would take place at the hotel, under his care. He spoke of specialized equipment, of the need for discretion. Each word chipped away at her composure, her fear solidifying into a cold, hard knot in her stomach. The room seemed to close in on Emeline, the air thick with unspoken menace. She looked at Dr. Holmes, truly saw him for the first time. The charm was gone, replaced by a cold, calculating glint in his eyes. The realization hit her like a physical blow. This man who had promised her the world was not a savior, but a monster. He offered her a choice, but Emeline knew there was only one answer he would accept. She felt a chill crawl down her spine, spreading like icy tendrils through her limbs. The luxurious surroundings of the hotel suddenly felt oppressive, the ornate details taking on a sinister aspect. The walls seemed to whisper of secrets, of other women who had been lured in by his charm, only to disappear without a trace. Emeline knew she had stumbled into a nightmare, and escape seemed impossible. Days turned into a blur of fear and forced smiles. Emeline found herself playing a role, pretending to acquiesce to Dr. Holmes's demands while desperately searching for a way out. She couldn't confide in anyone, for who would believe her? The charming Dr. Holmes, a respected businessman, a pillar of the community? She was trapped in a gilded cage, surrounded by beauty and opulence, yet suffocating under the weight of his sinister intentions. She thought of escape, of fleeing into the anonymity of the city. But where could she go? Who would protect her from a man who seemed to have eyes everywhere, whose influence reached far beyond the walls of his grand hotel? Fear became her constant companion, a gnawing dread that followed her every move. She felt like a puppet on a string, her fate entirely in the hands of a man who had already decided her ending. Days turned into weeks, each one an agonizing echo of the last. Emeline, once a vibrant presence within the hotel walls, became a ghost, her laughter silenced, her movements guarded. The staff, accustomed to her quick wit and warm smile, noticed the change. Whispers began to circulate, hushed conversations that ceased abruptly whenever Dr. Holmes was near. Emeline's absence from her usual routines did not go unnoticed. Her once meticulously organized desk lay in disarray, her typewriter silent. The grand clock in the hotel lobby ticked away the hours, each chime a stark reminder of Emeline's fading presence. Days stretched into weeks, and still there was no sign of her. Dr. Holmes, when questioned, remained evasive, his smile strained, his eyes holding a cold, unsettling glint. He spun tales of a sudden departure, a family emergency that called Emeline away with no time for goodbyes. His words, however, rang hollow, failing to convince those who had witnessed the fear that had taken root in Emeline's eyes. Whispers turned to murmurs, murmurs to hushed conversations in darkened corners. The staff, bound by fear and a shared sense of unease, exchanged furtive glances, their voices barely above a whisper. Stories surfaced of other disappearances, of guests who checked into the World's Fair Hotel but were never seen again. The rumors, once dismissed as mere superstition, now carried a chilling weight. The grand facade of the hotel, once a beacon of luxury and sophistication, now seemed to loom over the city like a menacing shadow. The name H.H. Holmes, once spoken with reverence and admiration, now sent shivers down the spines of those who dared utter it. The truth, it seemed, was a venomous serpent, slowly uncoiling in the shadows, threatening to expose the darkness that lay at the heart of the World's Fair Hotel. Each whispered conversation, each furtive glance chipped away at the carefully constructed facade, revealing the sinister truth that lay beneath. Unbeknownst to Holmes, his carefully crafted web of deceit was beginning to unravel. The city of Chicago, caught in the throes of progress and ambition, held secrets of its own. Whispers of the disappearances reached the ears of a young, ambitious detective, a man determined to make his mark on the city, much like Emeline had aspired to do. Driven by a sense of justice and a keen eye for detail, the detective began to investigate the rumors surrounding the World's Fair Hotel. His inquiries led him down a labyrinthine path of half-truths and deliberate obfuscations. He interviewed the hotel staff, their faces etched with a mixture of fear and relief at finally being able to share their suspicions. He scoured the city's records, meticulously piecing together a timeline of disappearances, each one linked to the imposing figure of H.H. Holmes. The detective's instincts told him he was dealing with something far more sinister than a mere case of missing persons. The World's Fair Hotel, he realized, held secrets, dark and terrible secrets, and he was determined to bring them to light. The detective's relentless pursuit of the truth led him deep into the bowels of the World's Fair Hotel. He navigated a labyrinth of hidden corridors and secret rooms, each one a testament to Holmes's depravity. The air grew heavy with the stench of decay, a chilling reminder of the horrors that had unfolded within those walls. The detective, his face grim, his resolve unshaken, pressed on, his every step bringing him closer to the heart of the mystery. The walls, once silent witnesses to unspeakable acts, began to whisper their secrets. The detective uncovered hidden compartments, their floors stained with the blood of innocent victims. He found personal effects, remnants of lives cut tragically short, a faded photograph, a lock of hair, a child's doll, each discovery adding another layer of horror to the unfolding narrative. The truth, hidden for so long beneath a veneer of respectability, was finally being dragged into the light. The name H.H. Holmes would forever be etched in the annals of American crime, a chilling reminder of the darkness that can lurk beneath a charming facade. The World's Fair Hotel, once a symbol of progress and ambition, became a macabre monument to his crimes, its grandeur forever tainted by the horrors that had transpired within its walls. The stories of Emeline Cigrand, Julia Connor, and countless others serve as a stark reminder of the vulnerability of innocence in the face of evil. Their tragic fates serve as a cautionary tale, a reminder to be wary of charm that seems too good to be true, of promises whispered in the shadows. The legacy of H.H. Holmes extends far beyond the confines of his killing castle. It serves as a chilling reminder of the fragility of life, the importance of vigilance, and the enduring power of hope, in the face of unimaginable darkness. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to my channel for more content.